Hi everyone, welcome to Live Darts TV, and this is our first episode we're going to do with you. Really excited, and we're going to do a Unibet Premier League preview. I'm Phil, joined by Jamie, and our very special guest today, Paul Nicholson. Paul, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me along, thanks very much.
So then, the darts season is officially finished, and it's just about to begin again in a strange way, as we all know. The World Championships, Paul, did you enjoy it first of all?
Did I ever? I mean, that game with Rob Cross and Michael van Gerwen is the best game I've ever seen live. Seen a lot of phenomenal games on TV and streamed on the internet, but my word, that game had everything, and I think we'll be talking about that game probably for the next 20 years. I
was going to say, late into the night, it had drama, it had missed darts at a double, explosive scoring, you name it. We saw it at Ali Pali that day.
There was one moment in that match for me when there was 132 checkout, and it escapes me who was going for it, but it was basically bull, and someone went for double 16, and for some unknown reason, I didn't look at the dartboard, I looked at the crowd, and there was a collective, oh, like that. It was a synchronised orchestral moment that was just unbelievable, and it signified that what that entire night was all about.
Off the back of that, obviously, we've got the Premier League 10 now, Paul. We'll start with the top 4 in the world. Obviously, number 1, Michael van Gerwen. There was never, ever a doubt in that one.
Nope.
I think he could not play for the rest of the year and still be world number 1. How it works with the rankings, which is phenomenal.
Exactly the same as last year, isn't it? He's in such a strong position now, just like 12 months ago. And you just think, well, you know how much he's going to play. He likes to play a lot of tournaments, but he has said to me off the record that he probably will focus more on the European tour because it's closer to home for him, and pick and choose his pro tours. Because he does have a young family now and he values time with them, and I think it's important for him as well from a tiredness perspective, because he's got Premier League and majors to look forward to make sure that he's got enough rest in between, and I think he's got the balance right now.
Do you think those 3 missed starts at double 8 will haunt him for a while, or?
I think Michael's smart enough to know that careers are about ebbs and flows, and he's had a lot of ups in the last few years, and he was bound to have one at some point. But if I was Michael van Gerwen, a few weeks displaced from that game, I would think it was a privilege to be part of that match, because it really was an incredible spectacle. But he will rue them, but he's got to remember that what goes around comes around. Yeah. And obviously missed darts, got him a Premier League earlier last year, and it was his turn to miss them this time. But what a phenomenal match, and Michael will take it on board and move forward.
Agreed. World number 2, Peter Wright, had a disappointing World Championships. We all know he was ill in the build-up to that. I think the break would have done him good to get himself fully fit before the Premier League. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what Peter looks like and feels like at the start of the Premier League. He's, a cast-iron pick, of course, because he's world number 2. But he did lose a lot of weight going into the World Championships, and at first it did look very strange. And we mentioned in the past about people losing lots of weight, and then will their game be the same? I think it took a little bit of time for Peter to adjust, but when he did, he looked all right. And I think from a longevity perspective, it's a good thing for Peter to look so good. I think he's changed his diet as well, and he's looking to play at this level for the next 5 or 6 years. So maybe these changes will be really good for him, but all I want for Peter really is to go out there, do his thing that I love watching, but most importantly to be healthy and to be enjoying it.
I suppose the other question we have to ask about Peter is, will we have another new set of darts that he's been trying whilst he's been away?
Of course he will. I mean, we've said it many times in the past. We don't want him to change darts, and he found these ones with the slight taper at the nose. They were a little bit longer with the green grip. Great looking dart, and he used them to great effect at certain points over the course of the autumn and the winter. But when he has time off, he goes back to his dart room and he finds another set, and he thinks, oh, these are the ones. Yeah. But it doesn't really matter to me what he throws, as long as he feels he's throwing well. He's a lethal dart player, and if he's in the same form round about February, March of last year, bringing it into this season, then he's gonna pick tails again.
No, I completely agree with you that one. Right, the new world number 3, the world champion Rob Cross.
Yeah.
For a spanner in the works by winning the Worlds almost, because he's catapulted himself into that top 4 in the world and got the golden ticket. Yeah.
There's a lot to admire about Rob Cross. His work ethic is the first one, because he's worked so hard this year. He's had some downs. He mentioned losing first round in the Grand Prix to Steve Beaton. I was at the airport with him the next morning, so I got to see firsthand what kind of person he was after a defeat. And he said to me that he was just confused by the format and he couldn't get a rhythm. And he made a promise to me that that would never happen again. Yeah. He would work way before the Grand Prix the following year to make sure he got a game plan. And that's what he does. When he sees a weakness, he fixes it. And after being battered by Van Gerwen so many times in these really good quality close games, he almost did what Peter Wright's done. He's learned how to play him.
Yeah.
And then, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back in the world was the 161 checkout.
Unbelievable pressure with, I think Michael was sat on 32, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's just produced an absolute blockbuster, a finish from nowhere.
Oh, you said it, Phil. Blockbuster. Best finish of the season, and possibly the best celebration I've seen all year as well. Because we've seen little bits from Rob Cross at Blackpool and other places like the Grand Slam, but that celebration after that finish, that was pure.
Yeah.
And I like to see pure celebrations, not put on or rehearsed or dramatic ones that they think they can pull off. That was pure. He wanted to show Van Gerwen, and he showed everybody, not just Michael.
Agreed. And I think this rivalry between Rob Cross and Michael Van Gerwen, we're going to see an awful lot of it in 2018.
I'd like to think so, because when they play each other, it's box office stuff.
Yeah.
The only people who are not worried about that match are the Barbers.
Yeah.
But it's just a brilliant rivalry that's teetering on the respect and the really wanting to beat each other, and it's not nasty in any way. And I really hope it doesn't get that way, because we've got two great professionals. The one thing that Rob has to get used to, obviously, over the last few weeks being champion of the world, he's done a lot of media. He's done a lot of mainstream media.
Yeah.
Stuff like Good Morning Television, what's known as Good Morning Britain now, is it? How old am I saying GMTV? But he's got to get used to that kind of stuff now. And I think once he does, he'll feel a lot more comfortable. Don't be surprised if he has a little stutter at the start of this season, just getting used to all of these new responsibilities.
Agreed. And the world number 4 technically isn't playing, because as we stand, Phil Taylor still holds his tour card.
Yep.
And would have been world number 4 and had that pick.
Yep.
Do you think the conversation happened? Was he offered a place, do you think?
I think so. I think the PDC and Sky will have just wanted to look at that possibility and say, are you sure you don't want to play one last Premier League? But I think Phil knew, because of his responsibilities around the world, he's got stuff booked, that he wasn't going to be able to do it. And he had his goodbye at the Premier League last year.
Yeah.
So I think the conversation definitely happened, but I don't think Phil wanted to do it.
So with that in mind, Gary Anderson steps up and has the last automatic place. I think he'd got a place anyway, don't you, if he hadn't in the top 4?
Just a little bit. I mean, how can you possibly have a Premier League without Gary Anderson at the moment? He's in a great place with his darts, with Gary. I think he's one of the best Premier League players that's ever lived. And right now, I've seen Gary's game close up. I played him in an exhibition in Cardiff a few weeks ago. And when he's on song, it's just beautiful to watch. I'm such a big fan of Gary Anderson's game. And how can you not have that Scotsman, as well as Peter Wright, in Aberdeen and Glasgow?
Agreed.
I don't know whether you've been to Glasgow and Aberdeen, but they are just off the hook.
Went to the Hydro last year, and the atmosphere was just mind-blowing. That and Dublin have been my 2 favourite Premier League venues by a long way.
You've got to get yourself to Rotterdam then.
Yeah, the Hoyt at Rotterdam looks unbelievable.
It really does, doesn't it? Terrible start. And 7. It's easier if you're a quick player. I'm very deliberate. Well, at least I finished with a 140. Yeah. from a darts perspective, I'd have to say New Zealand, but personal level, absolutely it's Canada. That would probably involve doing yoga in the morning and probably having a round of golf in a really sunny, beautiful golf course in the afternoon, throwing a few darts and having a lovely meal with a glass of red wine at the end of it. Mark Webster, I'm very lucky that I've got some really good friends like Peter Wright, Mervyn King, Steve West, but I've known Mark for a long time now and he's always been my best mate. Ray Donovan, it's ever so slightly dark and a little bit cryptic, so that's why I like that one. Shawshank Redemption by an absolute mile. Adrian Lewis in my first World Championships. It was one of those set format games that was going backwards and forwards, and just the way I was able to close that match out, that makes it probably the best game that I've been involved in. Van Gerwen Cross. I was there in the VIP media area watching the whole thing unfold. It's still fresh in my memory and I think I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Golf by a country mile, because I want to be in the good climates with all the fans and just witnessing all those beautiful golf courses. Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody knows that I'm a mad American football fan. I do like my hockey as well, so I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, but I'm a little bit more about the Steelers. Alaskan crab, my brother's mashed potato and some really nice, clean chili greens. I think that would have to be it.
So that's the top 4 in the world, no question whatsoever there.
Yep.
Now the controversial one, the wild card picks, as we know them. They've been quite clever this year because they haven't said this is the PDC wild cards, this is the 2 Sky ones. They've just called them the wild cards, so we don't actually know which one was which. But the first one we'll touch on, Mensur Suljovic.
Yep.
Again, I don't think there was ever a doubt that they were going to give him a wild card after the year he's had.
Yeah.
The lovable Austrian has now become a fan's favourite for me.
Yeah, I think it's a cast iron pick. There was obviously a lot of talk about the fact that he didn't want to do it last year. Maybe he didn't feel like he was ready. He needed another jolt of confidence or do something else, and he's done that. I mean, I was at Cardiff when he won the Champions League. It was just a sensational evening, and you got the feeling that when you were watching that live, that you were seeing something just a little bit different. I mean, for someone to beat someone of the calibre of Gary Anderson, not once but twice in a weekend, to get a first televised title, that is a guy who really deserved it. He played out of his skin, and he captivated every single person in that Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff. It was great to watch, but a lot of people have had the opinion, some of my colleagues, which I'll remain nameless for the minute, they seem to think that Suljovic may have peaked. So hitting that peak at the Champions League, that may have been his best hour, and since then he has dropped a little bit. If you look at his statistics, he has a little bit, but you've got to remember it's a very, very long season. Yeah. And Suljovic is not 18 years of age, he's not 21, he's a little bit elder in years. So from here, he's got to, again, use the break between the end of the World Championships and the start of the season constructively, like he did last year. He's got to come back firing, because he's going to be tired over the course of 3 or 4 months in the Premier League. No,
I completely agree. Moving on, the next one, again, I don't think there was ever a doubt personally. Super Chin, Daryl Gurney, was unlucky not to be an automatic pick up until the World Final, because he was in the top 4 in the world until Rob Cross did what he did.
Yeah.
So again, Super Chin won the Grand Prix in Ireland. That first PDC major, it's a special feeling, obviously, as you well know.
Yeah, there's no way that Sky were going to not have Daryl Gurney in, because of the fact that he won the Grand Prix on their network. And the auditions that he had on the World Series, he passed with flying colours. He goes up there with a walk-on song that I personally wish was a lot shorter. I mean, it's a great walk-on song, it gets people going. It's not my favourite, but it's not about what I think, it's about what the fans think. Fans love it, and no matter what you think of Daryl Gurney, you know, we know what happened in the Grand Prix. Things were spoken about, and it was all sort of blown out of proportion for me. But the Daryl Gurney that is going into the Premier League is a very good dart player, and someone who is ready to go week in, week out with toe to toe with everybody in the Premier League. He's ready for this, and I think the PDC are very smart nowadays. They're going to put people into the World Series to audition them for the Premier League. People like Vandenberg in the future, great prospects, but they need to pass the test in another way. But Gurney's already passed that test.
As I say, he got to the final in Vegas, so we all know that that throw stands up on the biggest stage.
Yes, it does, but the stages get even bigger now.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see how they react to the likes of Leeds, the likes of the Echo Arena in Liverpool, potentially the O2, and Rotterdam, of course. Keep saying it, but Rotterdam is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, just a sea of orange everywhere.
Of course.
The next one, Raymond van Barneveld. I don't think there was ever a doubt he was going to get one. Controversially, does he deserve one on what he's done on the dartboard in the last year, do you think?
Yes and no. I think he's had a steady season. Raymond came up about 12 months ago and said he was going to play everything through the course of a season. He does tend to struggle more with multiple games in a day. Obviously the European Tour is very, very difficult. He hasn't played a lot of European Tour darts in the last few years. I think going forward, he may need to play some more if he wants Premier League from next year on. But as far as his commercial aspect, I think he needed to be there. We've got a lot of debutants in the Premier League this year, and he needs some experience to mix with that. And with Phil retiring, I think Raymond's selection is purely because of bums on seats and the fact that when he plays Premier League, he always delivers.
Yeah.
And he did deliver last year. So, was it controversial? I don't think so. Is it a commercial pick? Absolutely. Was it warranted? Totally.
Yeah, I was going to say the last singles title he actually won was the Premier League nearly 4 years ago.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Raymond van Barneveld, no win in 4 years on a big stage. You never thought that would happen.
No, but bearing in mind that he's only just got used to a new set of darts in the last 6 months, and he's only just starting to get used to them. Yeah. I think when he has settled on every single micron of stuff on that dart that he's happy with, I think he will win a title. If he goes to a European Tour event, he's going to be very dangerous. People close to him say that he's very tired on Sundays when tournaments get a little bit later, but can he win another major? Absolutely. I've got no doubt in my mind.
Agreed. Another debutant, Gerwyn Price. I think he's had a fantastic year this year, really broke onto the scene. We all knew about his fiery personality, but this year he's delivered UK Open final and again did well in the World Series, so I quite like the Gerwyn Price pick.
Yeah, I think the UK Open final was the real door opener for the Premier League. Obviously the way he looks as well, you can sell the guy till the cows come home. I think him being not English either, being Welsh, fantastic attribute to have, especially when they go to Cardiff.
Yeah, home favourite.
Exactly. The one thing that was missing from the whole Gerwyn Price package, from a Sky Sports and PDC perspective for the Premier League, was, can he raise his game to that next level? And it just so happened that in the game with MVG in the World Championships, he did.
Yeah.
I was in the arena for that game and I saw him raise the intensity. Now, to say that he raised his intensity is a scary, scary prospect because it's already quite intense. But he raised it again. He got on MVG's face and said, I don't care who you are. I'm going to give my best right now, and I'm just going to put it in your face. And not just that, but his game lifted too. And I thought, hang about. It doesn't matter whether you win this. You've showed that you can go to the next level. And then the PDC have said, right, he's got to be in. No. So, for me, Castaigne.
Yeah, agreed. I was in the arena as well that night, and we all said that he's passed the audition there. And then I know he missed, was it 3 darts at tops to go?
Yeah.
Go up 3-2 in sets against Michael.
Yeah.
We all know what happened after that. But like you said, he passed the audition that night with flying colours.
Yeah.
And he can start an argument with himself in a room on his own, I think.
I think TV like people like that. So as to what Gerwyn Price can bring to the Premier League, we're going to have to watch and wait and see, but I'm very excited about it because I'm a big fan of aggressive darts.
Agreed. Returning now, Michael Smith, somewhat of a left field one because he wasn't really talked about in the build-up to the picks. Michael Smith wasn't really on anyone's radar, but he's reinvented himself again. I think he's knuckled down, worked hard and played well this year, especially on the European Tour.
Yeah.
As you say, he's got to finals this year. So yeah, good to see the young lad back in, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick because I'm a big fan of Michael's game. He's very watchable, he's fast, pacey, and giving him this second opportunity in the Premier League, I think he'd be a lot stronger. He feels more at home with the elite guys now, and let's not forget that he should have beat Rob Cross.
Yep. Match darts.
Match darts to beat him. It could have been a whole lot different. It could have been him lifting that title if it had gone the other way around. But Michael Smith is a phenomenal player, and being Gibraltar Darts Trophy champion, I think fitting the mould of a European Tour winner definitely helped his cause. And let's not forget his final with Van Gerwen in Austria, which is arguably the game of the year. It'll probably go unheralded because it wasn't on TV, but I commentated on that for the European Tour. It was off the chain. It was just an incredible match of darts. And when someone can match the world number one, like Rob Cross can, like Gerwyn Price can, like Michael Smith can, that is what TV wants. They want the world number one to be troubled by a whole host of players, and then all of this other stuff going around as well with Wright and Anderson, Anderson MVG, Anderson, Gerwyn Price. This is what Premier League's about, so multiple rivalries over the course of a long format.
No, I completely agree. The last one, again, returning, the wizard Simon Whitlock, a man that you've partnered in the World Cup. Again, got a bit of flack on social media, this pick did, when you look at it. I think he had a great first half of the year. Yeah. And then after Dublin, plummeted almost for me. Yeah. So an interesting one, I think, the Whitlock pick.
It's probably the one that everybody's talking about, because there could have been a multitude of players fitting that particular spot. Obviously, it helps that Simon is Australian and they're selling this to Fox Sports over in Oz. He's very, very popular, and he's got a look when he walks on the street of someone you can't really mistake him for anybody else but Gandalf. Yeah. But Simon's a very iconic player, and I see this as his last opportunity to really prove himself in the Premier League. If he doesn't keep himself in that Premier League mould, then this could be his last shot. Does he deserve to be there? I'm going to put a question mark next to it, but I'm not one to disagree with what they think going forward. But Barry Hearn said to me personally when I was doing the radio for the World Championships, that over the course of the entire season, looking at money won and a sort of ranking point system that they hold, he was 6th through the whole season, through Pro Tour wins, through steady runs in European Tours, through getting to the Grand Prix final. So being 6th out of everybody through the course of a season, I think that's what's got him in. And the fact he's a familiar face again, with a lot of debutants, you've got someone who has done a really good Premier League campaign before, so to have a little bit of experience in there is definitely what has got him the pick.
No, agreed. So that's the 10. In your opinion, is this the best Premier League lineup we've ever seen?
It's the most uncertain Premier League so far, apart from the first one. Yeah. Because we have got so many debutants and people who are not going to be used to the amount of travelling they're going to have to do. I've done a little bit of it from a media perspective, and it's very, very difficult to couple that with Pro Tours and European Tours. I see an experienced guy winning it, but it's the most intriguing Premier League so far, because we want to know, post-Taylor, can we make this Premier League just as memorable? And from a fan's perspective as well, they've got to stop singing "There's Only Will Phil Taylor." Yeah. We've got to find a new song tonight.
No, agreed. And like you say, the debutants, I think the Premier League needed to freshen up, in my opinion, because we'd seen the same faces over and over, and social media, again, was getting bored of it. They were like, oh, why isn't he and why isn't he? Yeah. So I'm pleased they've shaken it up a little bit. We'll just touch on slightly the lads that have missed out. I thought Carl Anderson was unlucky to miss out, personally. Yeah. And Dimitri, maybe it was a year too soon for Dimitri to get picked, but I expect to see him on the World Series again a lot more this year. Yeah. Like we touched on earlier, to pass that audition.
There are other players as well. I mean, Joe Cullen's come out on social media and saying that he didn't do enough at the back end of the year to warrant a pick. He's absolutely right. Yeah. He had a sensational start of the year, and what Joe's got to do now is he's got to lift and start looking towards winning those European Tours. He's got the base level win at Pro Tour level, had a great year with 2 of those. Next, him really is to kick on and win a European Tour, and that will give him the confidence, I think, to go and win a major. Vandenberg, what more can you say about that young man? He is just box office stuff. And when the pyrotechnics were going off, when he did his quarter-final walk-on, I thought, how can you not love this kid? Yeah. It was just fireworks darts. And if he doesn't go to Vegas, I'll eat my hat. And by the way, I haven't got a hat to eat. That's a metaphorical thing. But he's made for Vegas. And what they've got to do, and I think Barry Hearn will do this with him, is send him to the World Series. If he does exactly the same as what he did in the Worlds and light the place up, then Premier League in the next 1 or 2 years.
I say he's a marketer's dream.
He is. He looks great. He dances brilliantly. He may have to get a new dance this year because, like his manager Mark Elgin says, he's only got one dance. But he's a very mild-mannered, polite young man who speaks multiple languages.
Yeah. The
marketing dream just keeps going on. When you've got someone who can speak German, someone who can speak Dutch, someone who can speak English, what more could you want out of a dart player in Europe?
I'm going to put you on the spot now, Paul. Calling it now. Who wins the 2018 Unibet Premier League?
Van Gerwen. Absolutely Van Gerwen. He just got a way of bouncing back. I know that's a bit of a cop-out pick, but I think there's going to be lots of swells in this Premier League. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, but ultimately I think we're going to be looking at an experienced player winning it, and you can't look past Michael right now. That's
great, Paul. Well, thank you very much for joining us for our Premier League picks and our review on it. Thanks very much for joining us, gang, Paul. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, everyone, we've taken you through the Unibet 10 Premier League players. Now we're going to take you through our picks and bets. I'm joined by Jamie. So, first of all, who do you think is going to win it?
Again, I can't see past Michael Van Gerwen. His record in the Premier League in the last 5 seasons has been exemplary. He's topped the table and he's won it on 3 occasions. I just think over the 16 weeks, he's going to be too powerful, and after surrendering his world title to Rob Cross, he's going to be a man on a mission.
I agree. Over this format, I think he'll be tough to beat. It was in the Premier League in Aberdeen. He set that colossal world record average as well. And like I say, he's just at home in the surroundings of the Premier League. That format, it's quick and it's easy for him. He can reel off 7 legs like that, so I completely agree with you. I think he'll be tough to beat. Looking at the top 4, who do you fancy to make the playoffs at the O2?
Well, assuming Michael Van Gerwen will top the table once again, I think he'll be joined by Gary Anderson, a 2-time Premier League champion. Gary's going to be there or thereabouts, we know that. Yeah. He's used to these big stages, powerful scorer. And then I think Rob Cross is going to really, take it like he has done all of last year, take it in his stride. I think he will be in the top 4. I think he's got sort of that fear factor surrounding him now. He's proved he can beat the top players. And I also think Daryl Gurney will make a great impression on his debut too.
Cool. Gurney's a bit of a left field pick because I'm guessing a lot of punters will go for the safe option of Peter Wright, but I agree Gurney's a massive scorer and could cause an upset over this format. So again, I like that pick, and he's a good price at 9-2 to finish in the top 4. So again, I like that pick. Calling it now, who gets relegated?
Well, Simon Whitlock's been included back in the lineup for the first time since 2014. I think it's going to be a big ask for him to stay up after the 9th week. 2014 he finished bottom of the table with 1 win to his name and a tournament average of 93. I think there might be a few mental scars there. I think it's going to be difficult for him to live with the top players week in, week out. I think if he suffers a few early defeats, his head might drop and it's going to be tough for him to recover from there.
I agree as well, and since reaching the the Grand Prix final, his averages have plummeted on TV with a low of I think 84 and only a high of 93. So if he continues that trend, his averages aren't going to mix it with the big boys, unfortunately. The second one, who joins Simon Whitlock in your opinion?
I think another David Gerwin price is going to possibly struggle week in, week out with consistency levels. He does miss a few doubles, and it's a whole new experience in front of these big crowds, and I think it'll be a tough ask for Gerwin.
Again, as you say, debutant, new to it all, could be tough for him, so that's great. Most 180s.
In the absence of Dave Chisnell, who dominated the 180s in the last 2 seasons, I think Michael Van Gerwen will hit the most maximums this year. As we know, he's going to be there or thereabouts come playoff night. The format then goes up to best of 21, which buys him more time to hit more 180s. Yeah. And I think as the most consistent scorer, he will comfortably top that.
That's great, Jamie. Thank you very much. Well, guys, that's our tips for the Unibet Premier League. All the odds scrolling across the bottom of the screen are by the title sponsors Unibet. So if you fancy a flutter, hit the link in the bio.
So here's a question for you: Premier League, Newcastle, Thursday, February the 15th. Do you want to go? We've got 2 VIP tickets from our sponsors Unibet. Simply like this and retweet it and follow us at Live Darts, and you could be going there if you're picked at random. So for my first funny story from the tour, I've got to take you back a few years to a place in Austria called Wiener Neustadt. Very famous place with some of the dart players who have been on tour for a few years because of the hotel next to the venue, which looked almost like a prison. And it really did feel that way. But the funny story was in the venue, where a player called Aaron Monk, who was very well known by some of the players, lost a match and proceeded to voice to the whole room that he was displeased with his defeat. And you just think, come on Aaron, you've got to calm down here, you've got a bit of a reputation with the regulatory authority, you don't want to get yourself in any trouble. So he's slamming stuff, he's whacking chairs on the way back to where he's sitting. And to paint a picture for you, there's a large bench where he's sitting. It's almost like one of those school benches that you get at school that you've got to step up and down from. So anyway, it's a little bit taller. He goes back to his table. There was nobody else sitting there in a completely silent room with 16 matches going on. He sits on the bench and he falls directly backwards. And everybody saw it. That big thud that we heard in that arena. Everybody was just trying to keep their laugh in because we didn't want him to be too embarrassed. But boy, was he embarrassed.
Well everyone, that's the end of our Unibet Premier League preview. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Phil, Jamie, Paul, thanks for joining us here at Live Darts. Hope you've had a great day with us.
Really have, thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone, thanks for joining us and we'll see you again soon.